All right, we are live here today with Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer on LinkedIn, and we're also live on Facebook. So trying to do a double stream. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Kate. How are you? Great to see you. Always happy to be live.
I
LinkedIn,
know.
that's
and
good. That answers my first. I thought it was LinkedIn Live, so I'm glad you corrected me. Just didn't make sense. But
LinkedIn is like my second house. So because he said, "How do people message you?" I'm like, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm there more than anywhere else. So
let me find this stream here. But
yeah,
no, thrilled to be talking about
away, so you won't find it right away. But wanted to let people know that we're going to be chatting about a lot of different topics today. We will touch on data literacy and education for children. We're going to talk about Scott and his data whispering and master data management. Well, yeah, he doesn't really whisper ever.
I don't ever. No, I don't ever whisper ever.
No.
It's more a metaphor.
Behind him, tell me your data story.
Tell me your data story. Tell me, Scott Taylor, the data whisperer, your data story. That's what I want.
Don't whisper it. Yeah, say it nice
and
loud.
Shout it, yell it. People got to hear.
Exactly.
I'm looking
Scott,
for this.
For those that are not familiar with who you are and what you do, you want to quickly do a little intro?
Sure. Who could not be familiar with who I am and what I do?
Oh, that's true.
I'd rather be here. Scott Taylor, the aforementioned data whisperer. I help calm data down. That's what we all do. 20-something, who cares how many years in the data space, master data, metadata, reference data, MDM, data management side. Much more data management than analytics. So I kind of divide the world into two pieces there at the phylum level, right?
Yep.
Data and analytics, data management, data science, data management, data governance, business intelligence, determining the truth, deriving meaning. Truth and meaning, you need them both. They play together. I say you got to do truth first. That's why my hat's there. You need a meaning hat. Okay, we got to get you a meaning hat there, although you have the cool t-shirts. But all about kind of the foundational stuff. That's what I talk about in all seriousness. So why people should really understand the strategic value of proper data management.
Yes, and you actually have a very unique way of communicating. In addition to your whispering, you also have a few friends that typically join you. So do you want to introduce any of your friends at this point?
Sure. Are we? How are we doing here? Oh, wait. Hi, Scott. I'm looking at some of these comments here because we have to engage the audience. Yeah. So I pride myself. I have a wide range. Okay. So in terms of creating content, we're doing this. Obviously, do a lot of posts. I can write white papers, but I also do puppet shows. So if you haven't seen my Too Much Tech Talk puppet show, available on LinkedIn and on YouTube, you got to check it out. Starring our main puppet here, who's become a global hit. Where is he? Okay, there we go.
There he is.
I'm the CDO. He's the Chief Dog Officer. And what does he say? He usually says, I want to build a utopia of interoperability where data flows freely from workflow to edge across integrated ecosystems. Does it sound like somebody you work with? Obviously there too. So we got him. We got the ITB. Hi, everybody. I'm the ITB. And a few other ones here. So it's.
Yes, I think it's always fun. It's always good when you can throw some fun into the mix and, you have a way of engaging the audience and making things more interesting than they really are sometimes.
Oh, I agree. Because, the one, as much as I love data management, nobody thinks it's really exciting. I think it's exciting. Actually, I'll take that back. The people who are in it realize how foundational it is. They get really passionate. But I'm trying to bring a voice to it for the people who don't think it's very interesting, who just think it's kind of humdrum, because all the cool, sexy stuff is the stuff you do, Kate, right? It's, data science and coding and Python and Panda and all these other wild things. But you don't have a good foundation. It doesn't matter, people. You got to make better data is better. Let's just start with that. So
absolutely. And I see several people have tuned into the live, and just wanted to ask, actually, for those who are tuning in, if you can let us know where you're watching the live stream from, and also what your occupation is, right? Are you a data engineer, data scientist, data analyst? Are you not in data at all? So this
Or are
way
you
we'll
data
know.
steward? Okay, data governor. We'll take the data management side. Do you do the foundational stuff? I see Susan here from the UK. She's
Yep,
more on
Susan
she's
Walsh.
more on the
Susan is
data
asking,
structuring side.
where
Algeria,
is
Turkey.
Scott's shimmer? What's your shimmer? What does that
Oh,
mean?
my shimmer is that she did a post today, Susan did, where she's wearing this sort of sparkly purple thing. And I said, well, I'm wearing green today. So I'm not prepped for the shimmer. I got the puppets. We're going live. I did a podcast this morning. I got another interview after. Susan, give me just a little bit of a break here. I'll try and fill it in. I got such a busy schedule. I got to find the shimmer.
Yes, I see we've got Steve. That's actually my brother. He tunes into a couple of my live streams, and he always says, why didn't you respond to my comments? So Steve from New York, hello. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the support. We got folks from Turkey, from Algeria. So I think we can go ahead and get started.
This is
Scott,
my new character.
Really
Is going to be appearing in the next one.
Who's that?
Yeah. He's a cat sultan.
Cat sultan. Oh, where does he work?
He works at Meow Kinsey. So I'm working on the operating part here.
The only time we've gotten
herding cats, right? I think it all works.
Yes, absolutely.
So more here. So more to come.
So Scott, tell me, how have you been dealing with the COVID-19 situation?
Let me have a shot, and I'll tell you.
I got mine here. Look, we
got some of that settle in, hunker down water. That's what this is. That'll keep you going. So,
yes, absolutely.
We're hunkering down. We're sheltering in place. We're social distancing. But one of the many, many reasons I'm so glad you reached out to me and said, let's start talking, is because social distancing it means physical distancing, but it doesn't mean digital distancing. And it certainly doesn't mean emotional distancing. So we've got to light these things up to get people engaged, to get them talking, to hear about what they're doing. Because otherwise we're all going to just we're on day barely 2 or 3 of this, if anybody's counting. All our data lovers in Italy, keep the faith. We love you. Keep at it. It'll all blow over. But we're in a time of unprecedented volatility and I think also opportunity. It may not seem like that, but we will get past this. But it's a remarkable time. My kids call me and I go, look, this is different. Okay. This has never happened. Every day something is happening that's never happened before. And it's happening on a global basis.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable. I don't think anybody would choose it, but I think there's a lot of good coming out of it and will come out of it. We all got to stay safe. So.
Yep. So you're staying home mostly then?
Yes, I'm here at Data Whisperer World Headquarters, the top of the Fairweather Towers and Resort in beautiful Black Rock, Connecticut. So look us up. Google the Herman Beach, and you'll find where I am. The Herman Beach. That's where I'm right next to.
Awesome. I see a bunch of people responding. So we got data analysts. We've got folks from Texas, from India, machine learning management.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we got data scientists from Germany. Susan, the classification guru, is here. Folks from Nigeria, New York, New Mexico, data architect Michael. So thank you guys for joining.
You all follow Kate. Now follow me. Just find me. Follow me too. Truth meaning we're partners here. It's not, we're all in this together.
Michael Larson has a question for you, Scott. Do the puppets ever fight one another?
They don't. They fight with each other intellectually. So you got to watch the video. Because you've got the CDO, the Chief Dog Officer, and he wants to do one thing. Then you've got the ITB, and he wants to do something else. And then the business comes along. That's a monkey business. Try and keep it simple. And he's got no clue. And they fight with each other to the point where I actually, in the video, have to break in and calm everybody down. Because that's
do you come in as the cat or the Meow Kinsey or?
No. I'll be doing, actually, I may have a really super exciting announcement about who's going to do Meow Kinsey. Maybe we'll save this for the next episode. Who's going to do the cat sultan. I'm trying to get a really top-notch, world-class voice to do this. He's already said yes, but you get a little hesitant.
Anybody I know?
You will know his work. let's tell you this. We got to leave a little bit of suspense. Everybody on this live stream will know this guy's work. If I can make it happen, really, it's going to be beautiful.
Okay.
So, little suspense. We got to, we want them to tune in tomorrow.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we'll do that. But yeah, they do fight. They do go at it. So watch it. Too much tech talk. Put your data to work production with the Tech Talk puppets. Check it out. Yes, they fight. Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I know, Scott, that you're like one of the more popular speakers where you talk about master data management and all this, data topics. How have you been impacted with the coronavirus? Are you speaking now just to people like me live
Well,
on
I picked
LinkedIn?
a hell of a time to try and do more events. I'll tell you that
Mhm.
much. So yeah, I'm heartbroken. Shout out to the Enterprise Data World folks out there. I was supposed to be the opening keynote in San Diego next week at Enterprise Data World, run by Dataversity. Tony Shaw, Laura, Charles, Laura. They can figure out which Laura I used first. But they're hurting. We're all hurt. It was a
Yeah.
huge conference. I think it was the place to be for data in March. There's another Gartner conference, which I used to go to. That's the same time. That's not happening either. So those kinds of things are pretty jarring. I mean, I was ready to stand up in front of 1,000 people, get them all fired up. So I need some kind of outlet here. You can tell I'm sort of pent up. It's only going to get worse. But yeah, absolutely impacted, because part of what I do is communicate with as many people as I can, again, about the power, the value, the strategic nature of better data, of proper data management as the foundation of an enterprise.
Yeah.
And tying it into all the key themes: digital transformation, AI, BI, customer experience, Internet of Things, you name whatever trend is happening now. And there is a master data, structured data, as probably a lot of the data scientists like to refer to it. There's a structured data element in every single one of those and beyond.
Yeah.
So it's a really important topic. And so now I'm just reaching out. I'm going to try and do LinkedIn Live tomorrow, my first kind of kickoff show with, again, tell me your data story with me, Scott Taylor, Data Whisperer, has me in here, and try and get people, you got to be on it once I figure it out.
Sure,
and get
yeah.
people to tell their data stories, because everybody's got a data story.
I agree with you. And before I ask you to talk more about that, we actually have a comment on Facebook as well from a Greek ultra runner who's asking where I'm going to write some code. And to answer your question, not in this session. So
Not in this session. No, this is for no code.
So Scott, why don't you tell people the difference? So I talk a lot about, my company, Story by Data, right? I talk about, stories with data, but you're talking about a data story. So can you tell the audience kind of what the difference is between those two?
Yeah, I think a data story is a story about your data.
Mhm.
So again, if you think about where I started with these two buckets, data management and business intelligence, data storytelling, which has got to be the hottest non-technical thing going on, right? I mean, the hottest, super white hottest non-technical thing going on in the data space right now is storytelling. And so there's a lot of overlap, but what the stories are focused on is the key difference. So with data storytelling being, how do we use analytics? How do we get more literate in where and how this drives the particular business case? How are people more comfortable in explaining and sharing these insights, keyword insights? But then there's, why does my business need data at all? Which may seem like a weird question to some of us, but I would bet almost everybody on this stream is frustrated at a certain point about their enterprise leadership who's not giving them enough money and enough funding for the data management side of it.
Yeah.
And that takes a different kind of story. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and I'm working on my Venn diagram here, but the difference parts are, okay, what it's about. It's about the data, why we need a good customer master, why we need proper governance over our product library, why we need to establish internal standards and then work externally with other parties on external standards. So all that kind of positioning around why we need to invest in the data management side, for me, that's telling your story about your data. And so there's a differentiation there. I've kind of validated this with you, with a couple other folks, Zach as well. Hi, Zach. great data storyteller. I want to run into as many of these folks as I can to show this is not an overlap. It's not replacement. There's just an additional piece called talk about the data and then talk with the data. And, I can put my master data forever hat on and go, okay, typical, there we go again, big idea, no data management part. It's all about analytics. Again, you guys get all the glory and all the, spotlight. So I try and be this self-described advocate for the data management side.
Right.
But there's a real play. I mean, people are telling it. And that's literally when I back into what I've done for my entire career is this form of data storytelling about the data, why companies need to invest in better data to then do these other wonderful things that data storytelling about with the data helps enable.
Absolutely. And we've gotten a bunch of comments and questions. So Robin Rappaport is saying that the Enterprise Data World is her favorite data conference. I've actually not been to one.
Hey, Robin, I recognize your icon there. How are you? Yes, I love these people. I see them all the time. They pop up like that big in my feed. So good to see you, Robin. I was hoping to see you there. Yes, she's one of the many folks. Yeah, and hopefully we'll be in DC. I hope I'm going to DC later in the year. There's a data governance one that's probably more of a fit. And we're going to do it virtually, which is nice.
Oh,
It's not the same. We get it.
Open
It'll just be voiceover, but
yeah,
in case
it
you
also
can't
went
tell.
virtual.
I get very dramatic on stage. I love the story part, which we should talk about too, either now or at some point. What's the in that Venn diagram about about data and with data? There's also a story piece of that, and that's common to all of it. And there's everybody on this stream, I hope, wants to get better at just kind of explaining things, telling stories, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Bashir saying that structured data is very important in any form of analytics. Bad structure is not good. Yep, I agree with you.
GIGO, there we go. You say the secret word, GIGO. Is it Mikkel Larson?
Michael, I think it's Michael. I've been calling you Michael. So
right.
I don't know if it's Mikkel, then I've been wrong, but I'm sure he'll correct us.
Yeah, absolutely. GIGO, I have an additional way to talk about that, which is people think of it as garbage in, garbage out, but I also like to think of it as goodness in, goodness out. Let's put
there you go. You're
on
such
it.
an optimist.
I am a empty glass is going to be full someday kind of guy. I am an absolute optimist. And I kind of elevate all that to what I call the golden rule of data, which is do upon your data as you would have it do upon you. What you put in is what you get out. And again, as we talk about it, you can't go to your CEO and just go, wow, garbage in, garbage out. And it's become such a cliche that it's almost not effective anymore. So I work with language, obviously. I tell stories, obviously. And what I do for a living is help people articulate this stuff, in the boardroom, in the elevator, in the holiday party, when they're really trying to maneuver for support and understanding and engagement across their enterprise and with their partners, which is really important. You can get all the data stuff done right. You can get all the analytics perfect. You can get all this, all these algorithms humming, but if people don't use it, they don't embrace it, and they don't absorb it and make it part of what they do, then you're not going to get there. I mean, it's a through line. You got to go all the way through. So it's all part. That's my place. I think that's my position I play. I think I play it well, but I know my position. I don't touch anything, like I said. No coding, right?
One thing I wanted to do is, and I don't know if we have time in this session, but if anybody who's tuned in right now actually wants to join our live stream, I can actually add a couple of guests that can join the discussion. So, by the way, it was Michael. I was right. It was not Nicole.
Michael, okay, yeah.
Anybody else, Susan, if you guys want to jump in and actually join us, there's nothing stopping you. Just kind of raise your hand in the comments and I'll send you a link. And this is limited to like 2 more people, and you guys can take turns, but we can definitely experiment with that. This is my second time only using StreamYard, which is a great platform.
It looks very cool. No, I'm going to use this. Yeah. Michael, you asked about, okay, so how do you tell the story to people who are mystified by digital transformation? Perfect question. A less than 2-minute video. Go up to YouTube, find me, Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer. Or on my profile, I have master data is the foundation of digital transformation. I break down digital transformation in a really generic, simple, bite-sized way into 3 phases. And it is based on my years of talking to enterprises who, when you have a chance to step back, you realize people are talking about the same thing, but differently. And it's really basic. It starts with, you start in silos. You want to become centric, relationship centric. You know, you have all these silos where everything's separated and you want to pull it all together, which is centricity, customer 360, whatever you want to call it. That's the second phase. And then you want to move externally into what I named the trust network. And go beyond that. That drives, and as you go from silos to centric to networks, the level of interoperability rises dramatically. And interoperability is driven by 2 things: authenticated identity. Is it okay for me to connect to this entity, whatever the context is? And a common data structure so machines can do it. So take a look. Again, if you like that, I simplify it, but you'll find your story somewhere in there. I kind of like, what I try and do is sort of lay out the plot, and then people can put it in their own characters and their own twists and turns and their own anecdotes to get there. But the way I see it, all enterprises are trying to get to the same place. How do they grow? How do they improve? How do they protect? And how do they just do better with their customers and with their relationships, with the products and services they have? And that's how you kind of boil down commerce to its basic atomic level, from my perspective.
Yep. And we've had Susan raise her hand, so I've just sent her the link.
I'll bet she's raising her hand.
I hope you bring the shimmer, Susan.
Anybody else got to say? Anybody else would say? No, Susan, come on in here.
So I've sent her the link. Let's see how this works out. Like, I am experimenting, so
well, you've hit your goal already. We're at 19 and a half minutes. Congratulations, Kate. Just flies by.
I told them we need to do a minimum of 15 minutes, but we do have plenty of comments and questions coming in.
My hello is 15 minutes, okay? I can do 15 minutes on hello.
Well, that's also not great, Scott, but sure. So we've got a question from John. He says, how are graph databases going to change the way we design metadata strategies? That's all you, Scott.
I don't know. I don't think they are the strategy part. It's just a tool. So I know it does super cool stuff. I know and I've heard people talk about it, and you can do these wonderful visualizations. And I don't mean to sound demeaning or disparaging at all about it, but it's not about the tool. So I don't think it's going to change the strategy. The strategy is, I need the best metadata. I need informative tags. I need a structure that is common across my enterprise and allows me to communicate seamlessly with my third parties. How I do it could be a graph. So it will change the way you execute. And I'm the why, not the how. So when I hear things like graph, and when graph first came out, it was going to revolutionize the world. It was going to change everything. There she is. Speaking of revolutionizing the world, changing everything.
No warning. I just brought you in.
Bigger than all of us. Right there.
Yeah, I want to be so big.
So that's kind of my point on the graph thing. That just don't get hung up on the tool.
There you go. Anyway. I had to move far away.
Susan's here. How are you?
Yay, we've got Susan Walsh.
No social distancing here with us. No, there we go. I'm opposite you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, Susan. So, Susan, do you want to take a minute to just introduce yourself, let people know what you're doing?
Yeah, it was funny actually when Scott was trying to explain what I do. I don't even think I know what I do, but I'm the classification guru. So I have spent a number of years classifying data and fixing dirty data. And I know taxonomies, supplier normalization, and categorization inside out. So I am on a bit of a mission, like Scott, to get people to work with their data properly, to love it, to nurture it, and make better business decisions at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Was it
nobody says dirty data like Susan?
Yeah,
dirty data. Do not want it.
Oh, there's a better one though. There's been a murder. There's
been a murder.
Yeah.
She's teaching me the right way to say dirty data.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So it looks like it's working really well. Yay! So now
Yeah,
we can
this is
have
great.
guests
Stream yard.
join in at any point. So awesome. So I know
Oh, here's
Scott, you wanted
Deep
to talk
Patel said,
about.
I'm a student like a newbie in the data world, so I would like to get your guidance. I'd say follow all of us, follow all three of us,
Yeah.
absorb our content. We talk about the basics. We give it to you straight. We're not representing any other thing than just like the truth, and we'll get you there. So there's there's a tremendous amount of content out there to help you get going from not purely textbook perspective, but I think from more of a human practical perspective. What I do in Master Data Side, what Kate does with data stories and her daily coding, what Susan does with, what'd you say you do again? Oh, what Susan does with her dirty data and taxonomies, but just dive right in. Follow all three of us if you're not doing it.
I think the most important thing is to talk about data in a simple way that everybody can understand, that it's not just for the technical people or the IT people, but data's for everyone and it's everybody's responsibility. So we need to talk to people in a way that they can relate to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's a great way to do that. I
yeah,
wish
so
I
we
had
have a comment from Bashir. So he says that he's had to work with some data analysts that couldn't tell a story with their models, and he thinks that the skill set every data analyst and scientist needs to acquire, basically the ability to tell a good story with data. Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more important, but you first have to start with the right, master data management, put it through the data quality, get rid of the dirty data. I'm going to say it.
Dirty data. Dirty
And then
data.
you can go ahead and visualize and tell that story. So it kind of goes in that order, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's not inherent. If you're a great analyst and you're kind of head down and you find all this wonderful, it's not necessarily in your maybe strong parts of your personality getting up in front of a whole bunch of people who don't care about what you're saying.
Yeah.
And bringing them from, I have no idea what you're talking about, to, how do we live without this? So the folks who do that in your organization are in sales, they're in marketing, they're communications, because they have to do that for a living. Your salespeople don't make quota if they can't tell stories. So, and obviously I come from, that's much more my background than, dealing with the data part. But everybody can tell a story. And I think there's some simple techniques, and, this will be tune in again for how we start to talk through how you begin to do that, how you sort of piece that apart and be able to, there's confidence, there's all kinds of tricks you can kind of learn to get yourself confident and so on. But there's also a structure and there's a process. And just like with dealing with data and analytics, there's a process, there's a throughput, there's a way to go about it that tends to be more successful than not. And those are the kinds of things certainly I'll be sharing more.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, I know right before we started the stream, you wanted to talk about the coronavirus, the flattening the curve, and kind of how for most folks out there that are not deep in data, that this might be the first they see of like a bell curve, and what does it even mean to flatten the curve?
I mean, if we look at this graphic here, right? We've all seen this graphic. We can all, this is basic stuff for most of us. But I would say everybody on this live stream, and certainly the three of us talking here, probably know more about data than 95% of the world, at the very least. And we spend most of our time talking to the 5%. But, your mom, your uncle, your friends who do something completely different, they're not exposed to data. And when you talk to them, they probably go, all right. My mother thinks, oh, Scott just works on computers. That's as far as you go. So exposure to data, this is a really interesting graphic in terms of data visualization, right? Telling a data story that said, all right, this is what's going to happen if we don't do social distancing. And this is what's going to happen if we do, potentially. That's the hypothesis, right? Can we flatten the curve? This dotted line was capacity in some way. They've actually redone this. So when this first came out, both the areas were the same. And I kind of saw that and went, what does that do for me, right? You think about you, like, I want this to be smaller in total. Hopefully, this area X is greater than this area. Why? Because if we reduce the interaction, we'll also reduce the number of cases. But just when you see this, I'm sure everybody who's watching this just goes, yeah, I know exactly what that is. I get it. But this is an exposure for a lot of people of data, which was a basic data storytelling that they may not have seen before. And it's a really important story, right? It's literally a life and death story here. So, and you think about this is, obviously, primarily, this is a human story, right? That people have got to stay safe. They've got to be well. This is a real crisis that's global. There's a political story, which none of us will dip into, and I'm sure it differs by what geography you're in. But then there's also a data story. I mean, the data is the headline all the time. How many cases are there?
Yeah.
How many deaths are there?
Yeah, and I think for the public that, doesn't work with data that much, I think it's fairly simple to mislead, even sometimes intentionally, by putting charts and graphs in front of people. And we can talk a little bit about the importance of data literacy, because I know, Scott, you mentioned that you're also working on, or have worked on, teaching children, and that's one initiative that I'm trying to get off the ground is data literacy for kids, which is part of a book that I'm writing now with Jordan Morrow from Click, but it's a little bit broader than that, where I also want to involve the public library, starting with my local library, and having some workshops for kids, teaching them data literacy and really just the basics through storytelling. But I think it's just important to kind of broaden this to not just children, but adults who are reading newspapers and see charts, and they take it as fact. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think there is fact here. I think there's truth. If you go to the CDC, if you go to these websites that have the truth, and I was, took a step back and went, all right, what am I looking at? You look at this big global map, you look at counts, and from a master data perspective, again, I always try and sort of see that angle. We've all agreed on the unit of measure, right? It's a person. That's what we're counting. We're counting humans. We all agree on the universe of what, which is the Earth. I'm not being sort of, generic about this, but we take it for granted. That is, number of people on Earth who have this, who've caught coronavirus or whatever the status is, right? That's a status. So and then we start to look at geography is probably the next cut. Political geography by country, that's the next set of stats. And then within geography, the more attuned you are to that geography, the more granular you get. So we might look in the US, we look at China, we all know where Wuhan is now, and we look at sort of different parts of it. But in the US, okay, it's in Washington, now it's in New York, which is not too far from me, now it's in Connecticut, it's getting closer. So my geographies get more and more granular based on the intention I want to get out of that data. But we take for granted, there's a standardized, validated, commonly understood set of foundational definitions under all of that allows people, that helps people believe it. There's not a lot of spin going on in that stuff, I think, personally. And then there's a status, right? They start to do mortality rate, that's a percentage of. So these are really, really basic stuff.
Even some really companies that you would think are really smart, it's just hilarious when, I'm not going to get into it because then the company might realize who they are. But percentages are not as straightforward to people as you might think.
Is that from the news clip that I saw? And they said $1 million.
Conversation I had with a company. I'm not going to bring up the example; it would be too real.
We'll put their link in the show notes. Don't worry.
I was going to say though, the charts that you've showed and talked about are only as good as the data captured. So we have a bit of an issue in the UK where they're not really testing anybody unless they're in hospital. So our data isn't accurate because it's only reflecting a small part of the population, whereas you probably have a more accurate representation of what's going on.
Yeah, we're having issues with testing too. And when you hear the head of the WHO talk about test. Again, the primary reason to test is to understand, okay, are these people okay? The human element on there. I don't want to dispense with that at all. But I hear data, data, data.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They need more data. That's what they, we got to get more testing. We've got to get more occurrences. We've got to know more of these facts to put it in there because it's underrepresented. So that's everybody's feeling, and certainly the professionals feel that way. But there's a lot of data going on globally right now. And so, again, I keep qualifying it by taking out the really personal, emotional side of people who are going through pain and suffering, and more to come, unfortunately. But from a data perspective, it's also interesting to watch, and everybody should watch that and see, okay, data's, they're all talking about data. They're all talking about data, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to do it, but
We had a question from Sarah Abbasi. So says, how could we learn data storytelling when we need a lot of things? We need a business, data modeling, visualization. We need wide and deep information tools and technology. So basically, how can she learn data storytelling?
I'm sure she can tell a story, Sarah. Can you tell, once upon a time, there was some beautiful data. We all lived happily ever after. Or once upon a time, there was some jerky data, and then there was a murder.
I'm a small business. I don't have much data, but my data still tells a story. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to have huge volumes of data to tell a story. Every single piece of data can tell a story.
Yeah.
The story here is,
practice,
okay,
right? So
the story is we want to go from here to here, right? So how do we do?
Yeah, one way I get asked this quite often about how to practice even communicating a data story. And I always tell people, find a data set first to begin with, something that you're clearly interested in, and then, take care of the data quality, the transformation, load it into the tool of your preference, be it Python, Tableau, Click, visualize it, but also go on camera and actually tell the story of your data, like where did it come from, and basically practice it, put it out there, even on LinkedIn, and ask for feedback. And I think that's one way to really practice the skill set where you might not be able to, practice this in any other way, unless you just got friends who are going to listen to you telling your data story, which none of my friends would really. I think my husband won't even. He doesn't even tune into my LinkedIn lives.
There's a good comment in here from Basir to Sarah, just saying it's a soft skill, which it is. It truly is a soft skill. So being able to spin a yarn, convincing narrative, whatever that form you want to take, is absolutely a soft skill. And soft skills are all the rage now. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for me, finally.
I'm like you, Scott. I don't code. I'm not a coder. So, but I was going to say, by doing the data prep and the cleansing, you really get to know your data and understand it in a way that you could never understand it if you just looked at it all cleaned up and tidy. You need things in there that you might not necessarily see just by looking at a tidy data set.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was actually, Scott, going back to your bell curve, there's a question from Nani where she's asking, is the second curve a projection? Will we actually be on that curve in reality?
I mean, I think both of these are projections, right? These are both sort of what people think. These are my, I just took this graphic from what we've been seeing on TV constantly. But the hypothesis is if we do, social distancing, we won't get this. Sort of doing this in a mirror image in this why I'm so, this is crazy. We'll get this. So there's no scale here. This isn't based on actual data. This is just what they keep calling flattening the curve, right? And and the good part of that messaging is it's consistent. You're hearing it from all these leaders. They're using the same terminology. They're using the same graphic. People can understand that. Again, they made the blue one smaller, which was good because the first draft did have it. It's like, so the same amount of people are going to get sick. Some of them are just going to get sick like 2 months from now. Why do I want to wait? So, you want to make it smaller. If you haven't watched it yet, you got to go to the Washington Post. Has an awesome article on it's got data in action there. So there's all these little dots. It represents people. And if you sequester them or social distance them, and then how long would it take for people to get infected and then be cured? And then how many might there not be infected depending on the distance? And it's a beautiful data, and it's got shared like 30 times today before I could even get to it. So I like to be slightly original. And it's again, if you're into data, which I hope everybody here is, it's a really cool thing to take a look at. And it has these models, and then it shows this kind of what happens when people don't follow what a lot of the leaders are saying to do.
Yeah. And I see a comment from Michael again. He says, big data can be a lie, and Susan is right. We need the right data. Go, Susan.
Ooh, I was right for something.
So Susan, you were just sitting. I'm assuming you're home. You were just sitting at home.
Yeah.
You finished the live stream. Next thing you know, you're on the live stream.
Yeah, I was in
Dressed for the disco.
the jumper, and then talked about sparkly, so then I had to run and change. But the glamour that I sit here all day and
The shimmer, yeah. That's
So
awesome.
how many of
I
us
love
waist
it.
down are in pajamas? I'm not today. So last
Oh
time
God.
I did
In my live
I
stream
did an interview with
yesterday,
Kate. I
talking
get up
about
and she goes, "Are you in pajamas?" I go, yeah.
I did a live stream yesterday about working from home and some tips on, remote work. And I mentioned that I was interviewing a guy. I didn't give out your name, but they know
You
now.
give out my
since you
name.
just-
That's me, Scott Taylor, the data whisperer.
Scott Taylor, yeah, because he got up to change something. And I'm like, you're wearing PJs. That's awesome.
he's just business from up top.
I give
Yeah.
everybody, if you're working at home, which we all are, you got to have jammy day.
Yeah.
You've got to have jammy
It's
day.
so
For
important.
sure.
Oh, yeah, it's one of the perks. Why not, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
guess-
Jammy week, it might end up being.
Mm.
Just different jammies, just rotate.
So let's see, we've got another comment. On one hand, randomization helps primarily reduce bias. On the other hand, when you apply business rules on the data, you're introducing the bias. How do you address this issue? So who here has worked with data and bias and randomization? Are you
That
guys
sounds
hiding?
like a data
No.
science. I can't play.
Yeah, that way.
Okay.
That way. No, that way.
So might be the wrong, a great question, but for another session. Let's
Yeah.
see what else we got here. All right, Bashir does not agree with Michael because big data can give a lot of hidden insights. Yeah, I was just talking about this. It's not always the quality of quantity of data. It's typically the quality of data and what data are you actually working with. Because in some cases, just having more data can even be more confusing because you're just like looking through BS to uncover insights. So
In case anybody's wondering, big data is a marketing term. It's a marketing term.
Yeah.
Next, we're talking about humongous data.
Lots of
yes.
lots and lots of data. But big data is a very successful marketing term. That's the point of a different rant, probably for a different episode, but it is a marketing term.
Yep. And Russell jumped in and said that anything can be a lie regardless of scale, and verification is the key to ensure reliable and trustworthy data. And this is why Scott wears a truth hat every time
Truth hat. Authentic identity. You need that right away. Authenticated identity is core to all of it. Is this thing what I think it is, what I want it, can I trust it? Can I trust the interaction with that thing? That notion appears in all through anything that has to do with interoperability.
Yeah.
Security, privacy, all those, credit checks, any kind of relationship, all base starts with authenticated identity.
When did you get your first
Validate.
truth hat?
Now what?
When did you get your first truth hat?
I got my first truth hat actually, I think it was like 20 years ago. I was at some sort of conference. I've been doing speaking
Wow.
forever. So I was at some sort of sales conference, and I forget the company, but they handed out these hats that said truth on it. And I thought they were so cool, only it was dark blue on red or the other way around. You couldn't really see it as well. So then I started doing a lot of these broadcasts, and I'm just going to make my own truth hat. So I got this one. and I'll be doing more. I gotta open up Data Whisperer Truth Hats in the K Story by Data merchandise hub that you've opened up.
Yeah,
And
classification guru stuff as well.
Yeah, the dedicated products. Yep, those are always fun. It's always fun to design them. It's just like I have all these ideas. I try to.
how's that
design
going?
them.
How's the merch side going?
It's pretty good. I mean, I've got several options on there. There's shirts, there's hats, there's baby clothes, there's stuff for dogs, there's mugs.
Is that Zazzle? Where do you do it?
It's called Spreadshop.
Okay.
Yes, a Spreadshirt, but when you open it, it becomes a Spreadshop. It took about 10 minutes for the entire store to be open, so it's really easy to work with for those
I've
that are
done
trying.
some of that on Zazzle, same kind of thing, and you put a design up there, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden
you put a
see it
design and then you apply it to the
on
product.
a mug and like on a kid and on a mom.
Yeah, exactly. It's fairly simple.
It's really fun to do.
Yep. We have a question here from YL. It's asking, what's the hardest part? What's the most challenging part in data? Is it collection, cleansing, visualization, or getting insight for decision making, or is there something else that he's missing? What do you guys think?
I think the hardest part is getting it right in the beginning. So because it makes everything else better, easier.
I think the hardest part is when you're not getting it right in the beginning and dealing with the stuff that you deal with when you don't get it right.
Yeah. So if you get it right in the beginning, then that other stuff is easier. I mean, I'm at the beginning part of the phase, in terms of data management. So Susan,
and I'm at the end.
Get it right.
You're in the middle.
Yeah.
I find that actually, so I can do anything with their data, the client. Most of the time, they don't know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only until you start doing things with their data that they're like, no, we need this and we need that. And we forgot to give you this data. And I don't know that data is missing because I don't know their data and I don't know what I was supposed to have in the first place. And a learning for me is to get more checks in place. But I find a lot of the people I speak to, they don't know what they want. They don't have a data story. So maybe they need to be speaking to Scott.
I can tell you what the most important part is, hard or not, is that data making a difference in your business. So back to it. Is it going to help grow your business? Is it going to help protect your business? Is it going to help improve your business? Again, at the very sort of high level, bucket level, grow, improve, protect. Those are the three things that most companies spend most of their time on. There's always edge cases, and we can get philosophical all you want. But you got to sell stuff, you got to market it better, you got to be efficient, you got to protect yourself, you got to mitigate risk. Find a way, if you're a data person out there, find a way that your data that you work on right now can help your company right now in any of those buckets. Go be a data hero right now. Your company doesn't know what the future is. Just like we're all wondering what the heck we're going to do, your company doesn't know either. And whatever they're involved with, this is your time. I'm dead serious about this. This is your time to take the expertise you have, take what you have today, okay? Because nobody's going to buy anything new or implement anything new in time. Take what you have today, take your insight, take your passion, and point it at a problem that you found for your company or for your customers, whatever part of the organization you're in. And you can, I said before, it is a time of unprecedented volatility and opportunity. The opportunity is to survive that volatility. That's what almost everybody's thinking about right now. And data can make a difference. I'll suggest to you, data can make a difference like no other part of the company can. Because they're not going to sell their way through this. They're certainly not going to market their way through this. Marketing is going like,
well, if you're selling toilet paper, you're going to sell your way through this. If you're in America,
if it's toilet paper, people are even going like, we've never seen this before. We can't produce anymore. We don't even know why this is happening. It's like a boon or whatever. But there's a lot of companies out there doing a lot of things. How do you help your customers? That's the top one. And so if you're sitting around wondering what you're going to do with your data, go talk to your salespeople. Go, obviously you can't take them out to lunch. Go call them, get on. How can I help you? How can I help you now? How can I help you help your customers? Is there something? And there's a lot of great stuff going on. You look through LinkedIn and you look today, versus last Friday,
Yeah.
just the overwhelming generosity that's happening of, Microsoft giving away Teams for 6 months, Zoom giving away their platform to schools for the next couple months, but just all kind of, big and small people going, all right, how do we fix this? How do we help each other? How do we do this? And data has an ability. You can do data with all the social distancing you want. It's a unique opportunity in an unprecedented time. And I suggest to a lot of people, it's your opportunity to lose right now. Okay. Take it, grab it, jump in with both feet. If I can get anybody to jump off that ledge, I've done my job today. So I'll get off my stump for a while, but I think that's where we're at, today, this week, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine where we'll be next week. I'm hoping it goes into the positive side, but I do think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
I can tell you, everybody on Saturday, I'm sure the entire world just looked around and just went, what a week. Last Saturday.
Yeah.
Like,
And then on Sunday they
what?
closed all our schools for a month
What?
in New
Yeah,
York. So it's like,
just like what happened? What,
I know.
Yeah. Today they've said to us, don't leave the UK for 30 days. It's like being in a dream or a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're all sequestered here. My dad's out, Long Island. Can't go visit him, talk to him. And my kids are all over the country, and nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere. A lot of events. I had a bunch of events that just got canceled, and we hope the ones later in the year will keep going. But the most important thing is we got to get, we got to get to here.
Yes.
We got to get there right here.
And we had Zach Mazzacini just said, "Go Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer." So actually, Zach, I just want to talk about him a little bit.
Oh, that's Zach. Hey, Zach. How are you, man?
So Zach is actually giving away a course for this month's Datacated Challenge from Story by Data. So if people want to participate, the topic actually is about the components of a data story and, how do you tell a story with data. And we've got some interesting submissions so far. So those who want to win a 3-part course from Zach, go to storybydata.com/Datacated Challenge. It's like a really simple form where you put your name, your email address, and then you can submit a short blog article, like 200 or 300 words, about your take on data storytelling. So just a little plug there for your courses. Thank you again, Zach, for providing that.
Yeah, a great course. A ton of assets in there, workbooks, video. It's got all kinds of stuff in there that, frankly, if you get through that and you can't tell a story, then I don't know what's wrong with you. So definitely an expert in the space there.
We've got Michael jumped in saying sometimes you're in a position when it's your job to offer solutions, and clients might have an idea of their issues, but there may be more elegant and efficient solutions. So. All right. I think we've gone for almost an hour.
50 minutes. Really? 15 or 50?
I really feel that you're having
Did
fun.
I tell you I could talk? Okay. I can, believe me. That I can do. That much I can get done.
I now have no question about that.
Oh my goodness.
When we meet Scott, it's going to be epic.
Yes.
There for hours, just out talking to each other.
Whatever. I know. Susan's a big fan. We're mutual admiration society here. She likes my stuff before I do. That's how quick she is. She's like, boom, as soon as I post.
I'm a LinkedIn addict. Absolutely.
You're faster than a macro.
The first step is to admit it, Susan. So now that you've told us, now we know. But I want to thank you guys for jumping in, especially Susan, who just jumped in. Literally
yes, that takes,
You're so lucky I had makeup on today, because otherwise I would be like, no, I'm not doing it.
I think I'm going to do this more often, where just bring on, somebody who's commenting, just allow them to jump in and have a conversation. But I think before we wrap this up, maybe Scott and Susan, if you could just remind people where they can follow you and find you on LinkedIn or other places so they can check out your content.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Susan Walsh, the Classification Guru. You'll find me at there or www.theclassificationguru.com or at ClassificationG on Twitter.
Awesome.
I'm Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer. You can find me on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. Everybody needs to go there. Just send an invite or hit follow or whatever. Most of my stuff's on there. I'm starting to expand out to YouTube. So find me on YouTube. I got a YouTube playlist. Just trying to crawl up the subscribers there. I have a website, but this is what I do. So, you don't need to go to the website. You can't find anything over there. And, if you've got to search for Scott Taylor Data Whisperer. My organic search numbers are moving up since I've been pounding that for the last year and a half. And lots of videos, lots of, like I said, puppet shows, cartoons, some serious stuff, all there for you to share with your business stakeholders who have no clue what you're talking about. So if I can help tell that story for you, then again, I've done my job today.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you for those who tuned into the live stream. I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers. Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.